Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophet Speak. Today we continue our study of Sefer Mishlei, that is the book of Proverbs. We are about to begin chapter 6 today. We are still, of course, in the first section of Proverbs, which includes the first 10 chapters, in which the teacher or sage or parent is speaking to his student or child and giving them instruction to follow the right path in life, the path of wisdom, the path of Torah. In chapter 6, he discusses areas in which you may get, once you're on that path, things that you can do which may seem to be a good idea at some point, but can cause you to go astray, can pull you off the path, can cause you to fail and to stumble. And the first one is kind of curious. It doesn't seem like the obvious one that you'd expect him to talk about, but he discusses the issue of being an orev, being a guarantor to someone else. And this is quite literally being a guarantor for their loan. So when someone else comes to you and says, can you sign off for me on this loan? It seems like a good thing to do, but you have to be extremely, extremely cautious and careful. Because first and foremost, you need to be responsible for yourself. And you should not commit yourself to someone else when it can put yourself at significant risk. And this is something which one might think he or she is being selfless and kind and generous, but ultimately, if you don't put yourself first, you you end up not being able to help anyone else. You end up failing. On a similar note, we're going to read the verse in a minute together, but this reminds me a lot, although it's not exactly the same, but it's something that comes up to me all the time. For those of you that don't know, on my day job is as an OBGYN, as an obstetrician gynecologist, and I deal a lot with pregnant women and, or young mothers. And very often I hear from people, the baby is first and foremost. My baby's health is more important than my own. I'm not interested about me. I'm interested in the baby. I want to make sure that, and it sounds on the surface like an extremely beautiful, generous thing. But I generally, obviously in proper context, in the proper way, in the proper words, etc., I caution my patients when such an issue comes up and tell them that you need to be a mom. You need to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, if you're not healthy, if you're not strong, if you don't have both, not just your physical needs, but your psychological and social and emotional needs taken care of, then you won't be able to be there for your child. So being so seemingly altruistic for someone else has its traps, has its dangers. And b'ni imoravtu l'reyecha, my son, this is verse 1. If you have become a guarantor for your friend, tokato lazor kapecha, or you have given your hand to a stranger, to someone else, no kashta b'imre ficha, you have trapped yourself with the words of your own mouth. Because it's out of your control. You can't control whether your friend will pay back that loan. You can't control his or her circumstances. Nilkadeta bi'imre ficha. You were, it's another word for trapped. So ensnared by the words of your own mouth. Your own mouth, the deal that you made, got you into trouble. And often we make commitments in life that we have no control over the outcome. We make commitments and we end up tied to something that we are only responsible for because we took responsibility for it, and we should have thought twice before doing so. Asay zos efo b'ni. So now he says, well, what do you do if you're in this situation? Well, you can shirk your responsibility and run off to the Bahamas. You can lie or cheat or whatever, but no, that's not what he advises. This is what you should do, my son, in order to be saved from this situation. Because you have now come under the hand of your friend, of someone else. In other words, someone else now is responsible As someone else now, you owe him, right? You owe the creditor, and you're also responsible. You've come under the hand in a certain sense by the person you guaranteed. Lechit urahav re'echa. Go ahead and beg and try and bother your friend. I don't know. I've seen the translation: bother, badger, beg, pester your friend. In other words, do the best you can to get out of it. Right? Al titain sheina le'einecha. Don't give sleep to your eyes. Don't rest. Don't just let it happen. Do the best you can to get out. Hinotzel kitzvi miyad. In other words, but if you can't, you're stuck, right? Hinotzel kitzvi miyad. Be saved like a deer from a person's hand. So if you imagine a person were to grasp an animal that doesn't want to be held, a wild animal, the animal wriggles and squirms and pushes and nudges and does everything it can to get out of their grasp. Miyad yokush, or like a bird from the hand of a bird trapper. Do whatever you can to get away, right? Ultimately, though, if you can't, you're stuck, right? And then he goes on to talk about a famous parable, which we find quoted many times in many different contexts, to look at animals in nature and see and learn lessons from them. Lechel nimala atzel. If you are lazy, this is another thing that can draw us away. You can decide to go on the right path, but you don't want to do the work. You're not going on a path of evil or lying or cheating or stealing or you're just you don't want to do the work, right? So he says, go look at the ant, lazy one. Re'ei diracheha, see her ways v'chakam, and become wise. Wisdom does not allow for laziness. Laziness and wisdom do not go hand in hand. You can't be wise and lazy at the same time. One might think you can, but you can't, because one gets wisdom from the ant. Asher ein lo katzin shoteru moshel. The ant has no officer, has no leader, has no ruler, has no one over it telling him you have to do this. The ant's just an ant. It can walk here, walk there, it can do what it wants. Tochin bakayetz lachma, but nonetheless, despite the fact that nobody is forcing it to do anything, in the summertime, she prepares her food. She gathers during the harvest her food. During the harvest, she's walking around the field gathering grains and bringing them into her nest so that she can have what to eat when it's wintertime and there's no more grain in the field. This is what happens if you are lazy during the time when you're able to get away with it. Then later down the road, you're not going to have what you need to get through the hard times. And this is true, of course, with financial matters. If you don't take care to put away, money and resources now, you don't take care when you're young to get the proper education and skills that you need, then later on, even if right now you still have a bed to sleep in and you have food to eat, later on you won't have the skills necessary to support yourself. And later on, you won't have savings necessary to get through the hard times. Ad mosai otzel tishkov. How long, O lazy one, are you going to lie there? Mosai takum mishnosecha. When are you going to get up from your sleep? Me'at shenos, me'at tenumos. A little bit of sleep, a little bit more of deep slumber. Ma'at chibuk yadayim lishkov. A little bit more hugging yourself, holding your blanket tight in your bed. Soon enough, poverty will overtake you. And machzor, meaning lack of your needs, lack of being able to fulfill your needs, is going to come upon you like a man with a shield. The issue here, a man with a shield, is like Rashi says, "Habo maher lo hagin al adonav," a person who comes quickly to protect his master, right? That like a guard comes when he hears there's an attack, and he's officially responsible, let's say a Secret Service man in modern terms. He has to jump quickly to protect, the president or whoever he's hired to protect, right? The Ish Magen comes right away, and Machzorcha, your need, your want, your lack of resources will come haunt you as fast as that Secret Service man jumps in front of the president to take the bullet, so to speak. Adam Blial, this is verse 12, a person who is um, uh, so, so, I just advised you. The Baal Mishlei, the writer of Mishlei, Shlomo Amelech, King Solomon, is telling us to work hard. To work hard in times of good, so that you put away for later, so that you have for times when they're not so good. Don't be lazy. Learn from the ant, right? Be strong and work hard and put in the effort. But there's another way to get away. Some people are not necessarily lazy, but they're too lazy to do honest work, but they spend their time doing what appears to them to be easier, which is to lie and cheat and steal. Adam Blial, a worthless man, a scoundrel, an ish oven, a person full of evil and sin, holech ikshus peh, he chooses to lie and cheat. Right? Ikshus pez, he twists his mouth. Whatever he says, you can't believe. He makes things up in order to gain what he perceives as benefit. Koretz einav, he winks his eyes. Molel biraglov, he shuffles his feet. Moreh be'etzbosav, he points his fingers at others. He blames other people for the problems that are his own and doesn't take responsibility. He winks his eyes like wink, wink. Yeah, I mean this, but I say that. Molel Biraglov, he shuffles his feet, he goes here, he goes there, and finds the audience that's going to listen to him. Tapuchos bilibo, within his heart, all there is duplicity and lies. Constant lies and cheating. Choresh rabachal ace, he's constantly devising plots, evil plots to take advantage of others all the time. Midyanim yishaleach, he's constantly figuring out ways to divide, to make people fight. We know so much today, we see around us the way some people try to gain power is by dividing, by creating fights, by creating it's you against us, it's us against them, and come with me. Al kain pisom yavo edo. Therefore, so a person that does choose that path, that's another path. But that's a path you really shouldn't choose. Why? Because that person, his time comes suddenly. He seems successful, he seems successful, he seems successful, he seems successful. Everything is growing, it's looking great, but all of a sudden, bam! Pitom! His time comes. Petai shaver. He is broken down suddenly. Ve'ein marpe, and there's nothing to stop it. There's nothing to heal it. The entire house of cards, which is built on lies and twisted truth and manufactured arguments and differences and selfish stories that have no relevance to the truth. All of a sudden, that entire house of cards comes tumbling down like nothing. Shesh heina sonei Adonai. There are 6 things that God hates. V'sheva toavas nafsho, and there are 7 that are disgusting and an abomination to him. So it's almost a response to all of those things that are mentioned as a to'eva in the Torah, something that is an abomination to God. Here, Mishlei is telling us what is truly a to'eva, what is truly an abomination to God. The following 6 and 7 things. You can try to analyze and say why there's 6 and then a 7th, but this is really a poetic way of saying there's 7 things that God hates. Einayim ramos, eyes that lie, and eyes that are haughty, which is a way of saying a haughty spirit, a person with haughtiness, a person with a false self pride. Lashon shaker, a tongue that lies. That's 2. V'yadayim shovchos dam naki, and hands that spill innocent blood. This means hands that take advantage of other people that are innocent. So those are 3 things. Number 1, haughtiness. Number 2, lying. Number 3, taking advantage of the weak. Leiv choresh machshavos aven, a heart that is constantly devising evil paths. So that's a person who's constantly trying to think of lying and cheating ways to take advantage of other people. Raglayim and maharos lorotz lora, and feet that rush to do wrong, that rush to do bad. So there we have so far 5 things. And then number 6 is verse 19, Yofiach kizovim, Aid Shoker, a person who speaks lies as a false witness, a person who bears false testimony against others, says things about other people that are untrue in order to get them into trouble. That is a deep, deep level of disgustingness to God, a deep level of shame and evil. Number 7, a person who causes others to fight. A person who incites hatred between one group and another is the worst of the worst. It doesn't get worse than that. That's number 7. That is a true abomination to God. If you want to know what is an abomination to God, it is one who incites brothers, incites people that should love each other, and instead of trying to unite them, he incites them to hate each other. These are so relevant today in our day. Just think about this. Remember this. Don't forget this. This concludes the first half of chapter 6. Looking forward, of course, to studying the rest of chapter 6 and the rest of this wonderful book together. I wish everyone that joined me a wonderful day. Please take these lessons to heart and remember them in your everyday life. And I wish all of you a wonderful, wonderful day.